Patience. Certainly extremely disappointed in what happened out there. Nobody's more disappointed than our players in the locker room. Obviously they're searching for answers. I've got to be able to provide them for them. But like I said, nobody's more disappointed than our football team. And the performance in the second half was certainly the most disappointing part of this game in itself. So don't have much to add other than what we saw. So I'll open it up to questions.
Coach, in the immediate aftermath and to the best of your ability, can you describe what happened in that second half? Was it mental, physical? I mean, anything in between?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. We couldn't get off the field in the first drive defensively, and that was my biggest concern going into halftime, that we needed to come out and get a stop defensively. We weren't able to do that. Then subsequently we were 3 and out, and then, of course, the punt return for a touchdown. We've got the ball pinned to the sideline, and we just didn't execute at the level necessary in that. And I think that was a big, back-to-back touchdowns right out of the gates. And then just the inability offensively to get into any kind of rhythm offensively, which has been, off and on for us, virtually the entire year. And then another no stop on defense. So, I've talked a lot about not being able to play complementary football, but we complemented ourselves offensively and defense by not playing to the level that we need to. And look, it wasn't that those kids didn't play hard. We did not play to the level and do the things necessary to be successful on the things that I just mentioned. That entire drive, the ball got outside the defense. We weren't aware of a screen. We didn't show enough awareness in that situation. The quarterback got us in some situations where there were some pass rush issues. And then offensively, you guys watched the second half too. We struggled a little bit with protection. And we were not effective enough offensively to sustain any kind of rhythm. And so all three phases early on put us in that situation.
If the guys are indeed playing hard as you say and believe, then what do you think is sort of missing with this team at the moment in terms of the execution piece of things?
Yeah, I mean, all of those things are the ones that I'm going to have to figure out for our football team. Because if guys are playing hard, and I know they were, and they prepared their tails off this week, and that's not happening, that's a football issue. And the football buck stops with me. And I have to take a good hard look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, both from a personnel standpoint and from a coaching standpoint.
Coach, not to get caught up in the moment, but a game like this will have big picture questions. A lot of your fan base is very upset. What would you tell them right now? And can you come back from this year and altogether?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, this is an extremely disappointing night. Right? And the fan base, our fans are disappointed, like any fan base would be, whether I'm here at LSU or any other school. The head coach, it stops with the head coach. And so that responsibility falls with me. But this is a proud tradition, LSU. They have a proud football team, and the guys that represent us, and like I said, those guys, I was with them. They prepared their tails off this week. They expected to win. They did that by their actions in the first half. It didn't show itself in the second half, so I have to look at the reasons why. So my focus really, Jacques, will be much more on inside out than outside in. And I get it. There should be noise. You should be disappointed. I'm disappointed. But I have to really focus my time inside out the program so we can make sure this never happens again.
Brian, in the back here, is there one or two things that's critical right now that you guys have to hone in on, figure out, and focus? And it may not even be football related, right? To keep this thing moving the way you guys want it to be?
Oh, no, I think everything's football related, Michael. I think everything. This is about how you get your football team to play better. So I have to evaluate everything from top down, everything we do and how we do it. and primarily in the football end of things. You know, this is much more about the football end of things, and that involves, you know, making those decisions that will allow this football team to play at a higher level. So I have to do some work on that, and come up with the solutions.
Does that include coaching evaluations? Is that something?
Of course. I mean, you're going to evaluate everything. You know, I mean, I think you have to look at everything, everything that we do offensively, everything that is being done defensively. Special teams was atrocious. All of those things fall on me. So when it comes to the football, that's what I have to fix, and we have to do that immediately.
You talked about the offensive ongoing woes, but defensively, the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 games, I mean, when did this team forget how to tackle, I guess, for a better word?
I wish I had a simple answer for you. I really do. You know, setting edges is a fundamental principle of good defense, right? Tackling is a fundamental principle. Recognition and awareness of screen game is a fundamental principle. Those things were not present. And so that's where I have to really dig deep and figure out, because I am not here for 1 second to blame this football team, these players. They played hard. I have to figure out how to get them in a position where they can succeed, and that's my job.
Yeah, Coach, it really looked like in that first half, Harlem Berry was on his way to a pretty breakout performance. Is there any explanation as to why he only got 1 touch in the second half? Can you just explain that a little bit?
Yeah, we got behind real quick, you know, and it changed the complexion of the game from that standpoint. So, yeah, I think if we had, you know, come up with a stop or, you know, didn't have the punt return, I think you would have saw more balance, you know, from that perspective. But, you know, once there were 3 consecutive scores there, it changed the whole rhythm and balance on offense.
Brian, you talked about this being an all-in year for the team, and it hasn't really gone that way. What level of concern do you have for yourself with the faith the program should have for you?
I mean, that's out of my hands. You know, it's impossible for the head coach that's been here, you know, for 4 years and 35 years of doing this, to think anything else but this is my responsibility, and we've got to get it turned around. And that's not my decision in terms of whether I'm here or not, but that's what I will do as a head coach that's been doing it for over 3 decades. When things are not going well from a football standpoint, the head football coach has to be agile enough and able to make those changes and find out what we need to do to get our football team to play better.
Garrett exited the game with about 6 minutes left. What was the thought process in taking him out, and what's your reaction to his disappointment then on the sideline after that?
Well, I would have been disappointed too. If you took me out of the game at that situation, I would have been disappointed. But it was a bigger picture. We were struggling protection. I thought it would have been unfair to have him in the game under those circumstances where the game was, Koki, clearly out of reach. To have him get injured in that situation, I thought would have been malpractice from my standpoint.
Reed, we got time for 2 more. Reed and then Corey.
Coach, right here in the middle.
Yeah.
You mentioned special teams. What do you think was the biggest issue there in that phase of the game?
Well, you know, I thought we started off great, right? We got the pump block. Usually you get a pump block. Great things happen. And it just went downhill from there. The first thing was we pinned the ball to the sideline, and we're not able to get down what we knew to be a great return man. We couldn't get him on the ground. You know, then we had some situational substitution issues that are unacceptable, and they fall on me. You know, I've got to get that corrected. You know, Ramos missed the extra point, man. I don't know, he's had 100 and something in a row. That was bound to break at some time just by sheer volume of kicks. But, you know, by and large, you know, we didn't kick the ball the way we normally kick it. But that's no excuse. We got to go cover the darn kick. and we did not cover it very well today. So kickoff coverage, punt coverage, those things really showed themselves tonight, and a couple of situational errors, and certainly part of an incredibly disappointing second half.
Corey, you got the last one.
Brian, I know there's only 4 games left, and I don't know most of the guys up front are young guys, but is there any way to get them to improve to the last stretch of this regular season?
Absolutely. I mean, look, and you guys know this. I mean, they have an opportunity, to work on their craft every day. And we'll be back out practicing after they get a couple of days to regroup. But yeah, no, absolutely. Every single one of them. As I said, I would just be giving you lip service right now if we weren't going to be committed to getting this football team better and having them have better outcomes than tonight. Our fan base should be upset. They have every right to be. That second half was unacceptable at any level. And I've got to figure out the ways that we can get our football team to play better football consistently, not just in spurts, but for 4 quarters. Thank you.